Natalie here for Cherry on Top Mixed Media Volume 4. Today we're going to focus on a gel press. These are so fun and a good way to experiment with mixed media. You can use so many different mediums on these that I couldn't fit them all in one video. So I'm just going to focus on acrylic paint today. So you can see it's kind of wiggly. I'm using it on top of my glass mat. You do want to make sure that you don't puncture the mat or put any indentations in it. So that's why it's really good to use a smooth flat surface like a glass mat. So right now I'm taking all the pinks and purples and I'm doing an ombre effect. So I started with the lighter and go down to the darker. And a brayer is the best way to spread the color onto the gel mat. And you want to work from the lighter color to the darker, and you don't want to take the darker color back up into the lighter color because it will cover it up. See, I did that a little bit there. So now I'm just using the brayer to kind of spread the color out evenly, make sure there's no empty spots, and all you do is you put the cardstock over the top and press down gently with your hands, smooth it out, and peel back the paper. It dries super quick. You don't need gesso, which is cool. And look at how beautiful that is. That is such a gorgeous ombre print. So I have a ton of paint left on there and on my brayer. So I'm gonna re-roll over everything. And then I'm going to imprint the stamped image. That's a clean stamp from Tim Holtz. It's a cityscape of Paris. And I'm also gonna use this Ranger Distress tool and just draw a little rainbow over the top there. And I'm gonna do a second clean sheet of paper, smooth it down, and this time I just brayer over it. You don't have to do that, but it's a good way to clean off your brayer if you don't need to use that opposite side of the page. Look at how cool that is. I love the texture. I love the distressed look of that. Really great. I clean my gel press off with baby wipes, and I also sometimes spritz extra water on it. So I'm gonna do another ombre here. I'm gonna do different blue colors. So again, I'm working from light to dark, and I'm gonna brayer those across the entire gel press. And then I'm gonna go in with some texturizing tools. So you can use anything around your house. I like to use stencils. So what I'm gonna do here is I put a feather stamp on my acrylic block, and I'm just stamping it around and through the stencil. So yeah, that's it. It's super simple. The paint is still wet, so it's making a fun imprint. I lost my stamp there. And then I'm gonna pick up the stencil and move it down just to fill up the page. And it left a cool imprint, and then you can see the feathers as well. So I'm gonna finish out the page, and then I'm gonna take just some die cut paper feathers that I did on my Sizzix, and I'm gonna lay those down, and those will act as a mask. So I put my clean cardstock on top, and what you'll see is those feathers stay white because it masks the paint from getting onto the paper. And I forgot to show the camera, so there's the close-up image. It's super fun. You could do a lot with that. Playing around and learning how to use the different textures is super fun. So I have some paint under those masks, so I decided to just throw those onto that pink paper. And there's feathers in the sky now. Just super simple. And there, you can see. It didn't come out super cool, but I like how it showed up in the white. I don't know, really cool. The next technique, I'm using the paint through the stencil, and it gives a very perfect image of this honeycomb stencil. So I just apply the yellow paint on top of the stencil, and then I use a brayer. You could also use a scraper or a palette knife, but again, you have to be careful with the gel. You don't want to indent it or ruin it. So a brayer is the best way to go. You can get them pretty inexpensively, and it's super fun to use. I go around the stencil and just wipe up the excess paint, which is a super easy thing to do as well, because then once I pull the stencil up, it will be left only with the stenciled image and nothing else. Look at how good that looks. I love it. So this is a good way to practice building layers. So I'm using plain white cardstock at first and starting with this yellow layer. And since, cool, huh? Since it dries so quickly, all I have to do, I'm just using my brayer and stenciling it through onto the pink page. So that gives the opposite image. And what am I doing here? Another pink background. I'm a big fan of the pink here. I don't remember. I think I'm stenciling here. It's just a lot of practice. And I'm gonna stamp. Yeah, so a woodblock stamp is super great on this. I'm just offsetting the paint and wiping it off with the stamp every time to get a clearer image. And I did diamonds and hearts. We're gonna work on building our layers. So yeah, this is great to make like a junk journal or like a little mini album, because you have all these practice pages and sometimes you're not sure how they're gonna turn out. And then combining them all in one spot is super fun. But there we did that over the honeycomb stenciled image. And now I'm experimenting with black, and it's bold. I like it though. I do a mask down here. I tried to throw in some powdered watercolor on top, but that didn't do anything, just FYI. But you can use powdered watercolor on the gel press, just not with black acrylic paint. So let's see, we're using a mask a couple times. We're using this cityscape stamp. I find the red, all stamps work, but the red rubber cling stamps give just a super cool image. I don't know if I showed that. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, you can see it gave that really cool black image. And the black is kind of like a matte. It's not as bright and bold as you would think. And this looks really cool. It looks almost like an engraving after you pull it up. And because it was that tiny piece of paper, I used the brayer because it was hard to press down. So here I'm building another layer on that pink and yellow piece. And I just wanted like a big black stripe, and you can see how the yellow showed through, which was cool. It kind of like pulled up the pink paint and showed the yellow back through. So that was neat. But yeah, when you get a gel press, just play around with it, because there is a learning curve, as with any mixed media, and it's fun. It's fun to play around with. So what I'm using here is just like kind of junk cardstock that I wouldn't use in any other project really. So I'm just using the backside to practice. And let's see, what are we doing here? Oh, this is fun. So I fill up the entire gel press with yellow. And then I take just my regular clear stamps. I use a floral set that's really beautiful. And they make a gorgeous image on this. And you can literally just do this and be done. And that could be your background page for your scrapbook page, because it was so pretty. So you can see once I put those clear stamps on, it pulls up the paint and leaves a perfectly gorgeous floral image. So I'm just going to do that all over, alternating the stamps, kind of filling in the empty spaces with just letting them run off the page. You don't want it to be too perfect. You want it to look like a screen print kind of. Yeah. There we have it. I love how that looks. It's so pretty. So you could go back in and add more textured, maybe like stripes around the edges if you really wanted a distressed look. Yeah, so that's just, I'm gonna do a layered print on this as well. And boom. It's hard to see because of the yellow, but it's super pretty. Like that could be your black background page and be done. It's a really fun way to use your stamps. But I'm going to create masks, and I do mess up here, but it actually turns out pretty cool. So I just throw some circles onto my gel press, and my intention was to mask and put in some pink, but then also once you peeled up the circles, you would be able to see the yellow flowers through. But I forget to take the mask off. But because the paper absorbed the paint, the acrylic paint so quickly, a lot of it was already dry, and so I still get the empty circles showing through the yellow, but I also get a little bit of like a distress, and you can see some of the polka dots when it goes through. So what you're supposed to do is, after you add this pink color, go in and peel up all of the circles before you lay the paper back down. But that's the part I forgot to do. But it turns out pretty cool anyway. You'll see here in a sec. Yep, totally forgot to pull up those masks, but that's okay. Because the paint had already dried on the paper, it still left a lot of the yellow, but with a little bit of distressing and the polka dots, so it looks really cool. There's the final. I'm gonna do a practical application for a scrapbook page, but that's gonna be a separate video, so just, oh, we're not done, sorry. Yeah, I am gonna do a practical application, so just pop over to my channel and watch the next video, and that's gonna be using a gel press and then applying it to your scrapbook. So now I'm just picking up the extra circular colors. And then at the end here, I'm just gonna try a few things. I forgot to take off the cover off the gel press. I was trying to keep like hairs and dust from floating on it once I had stepped away from my desk, but gotta take that off to use it. So we're using this turquoise, and then we're gonna go in, I think, with a chevron stamp and purple. Yep, super fun. Okay, so I lay the chevron stamp down, and then I try to use an embossing folder and use those stars through the stencil, but it's kind of hard to see. You can see it a little bit, but it doesn't work out really great, I think, because the stencil holes are so tiny. So this gives a really fun image, and the colors do kind of blend a little bit, but then also you can see the purple really well. So I'm sticking the stars on there again. And I should have pulled up the stencil is what I should have done. But that's cool, I like that. But it was so much white because I didn't pull up the stencil. If I pulled up the stencil and left the blue paint on more, then this image would have been more vibrant. But I do like the way it looks. Okay, now we're done. So here's all the examples that I made. As well as, like I said, you can pop over to the next video, and I'll link down below for the practical application to a scrapbook. So thanks for watching, you guys. Check out my affiliate link down below and come join us on the message boards. I'd love to see what you make with this tutorial. Bye, y'all.